within crypto. You are pretty much all in one crypto.
This is the big one. There is nothing ever going to be bigger than this. Crypto is the big journey. Obviously, the whole finance thing is right. It's big. It's all part of the same thing. But this opportunity of a $2.5 trillion asset class going to $100 trillion is the largest, fastest accumulation of wealth in all human history. Even if I'm a total moron, wrong by 50%, it's still larger than the entire market cap of the S&P that took 100 years to build in value. And it's going to happen within probably 8 years. Here's the first global, homogeneous asset that is fractionizable, that everybody can put 10% of their earnings in. It's the gift you've all been waiting for. So this is the one. When you buy an asset for investment, what you're doing is you're locking up money now to spend it later. Future deferred consumption. You need to be compensated for that, generally, because you're locking money up. So that's why long-term bond yields have a higher yield than short-term, generally. And so that asset needs to be worth more than current money today. But after 2008, they started using liquidity, so creating more money to allow the governments to be able to pay the interest on the excess debts. And that is debasement. And they're doing that by 8% a year on a globalized basis. So it means that any asset that you have needs to go up by more than that, or your future self is poorer. Young people were totally fucked. And that they were never going to get up the ladder. And they needed a gift. And back then, this was 2016, I said, crypto is that gift. This is the only way I can see to get out. And that has continued to play out to this day. Liquidity cycle is actually somewhat mid-curve, meaning it's a over-explanation for a simple thing. Simple thing is all you need to know is number go up. The whole system is set for number go up. So therefore, just be involved in that number go up and own the asset that goes up the most. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Right? The whole system is set for number go up. That's what debasement of currency does. When you have an over-indebted system, the collateral of the system, the assets, can't go down, because if not, you've got too much debt versus the assets, and that's what happened in 2008. So the whole system is based on that. The baby boomers are all going into retirement. You can't let the assets go down, because if not, they've got all the wealth. So therefore, consumption will collapse. The number can't go down. So as opposed to number go up, you could say the number can't go down. If you're 30, you shouldn't give a shit about that cycle. You should just use any weakness to keep buying more number go up assets. For others, it then becomes a cycle to try to take some risk off the table, because it's a volatile space, particularly in crypto or technology investing. Both work well. But then you come to the question is, and most people get to this, is everyone thinks, yeah, I'm going to take money off. And then you're like, and where am I going to put it? It's difficult to think about getting out. The reason Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world is because he didn't sell his Amazon equity. Right? People forget that compounding returns. Bitcoin since 2012 is up 22 million%. It's 140% a year. In that is 4 down 85% bear markets. And it's still out. Solana was down 97.5% last cycle, or 98.5%, sorry. It is still compounding at 240% returns a year. People are now seeing 100x in memes. And they've gone from, I've been telling people, please play that game. Sure, do it with 10%. Keep 90% of your allocation, or 80% if you're a total degen, just in the main tokens. Then you can't screw it up. Don't use leverage, self-custody, you'll be okay. But I can see it already. People are gravitating towards the influencers who are talking about memes. People are desperate to make money in the shortest period of time. And they don't realize that compounding at 150% return, which is Bitcoin, which is the worst performing of the major assets, 150%, you don't need to be in it very long for that to compound to massive returns. But they want to make it all this time. And so I can see them losing their minds already. They're not using leverage yet. They're kind of scared of that, but they will. However much we tell them, please don't use leverage, they will use leverage. I don't really like leverage. I did when I was running a hedge fund. I'd use a lot of leverage. I've used a lot of leverage in the past. But when you do the maths, you're like, what is a normal drawdown in Solana? Well, 30% is like, that can happen 4 times a year. Okay, so that means I can't be 3 times levered. Can a 50% drawdown happen? Yeah, you might get one of those in a bull market. So I can't be 2 times levered. So I can't take leverage. If you think about the 5% yield or the 10% yield people are fighting for, I'm going to do this and swap to that, and then I've got this bridge and I'm getting 12% yield over there. I'm like, Solana moves 12% in a day. How's this compensating you for risk taking? It's just not worth it. Why I got into this in the first place was realizing that you didn't own your assets in a financial system. I'm not going to make the same mistake and give somebody my assets or give somebody control of my assets or give somebody a share of my assets. The beauty of crypto is self-custody. It's so magical. And people don't yet understand that. They will. Never lose control of your crypto. So if diversification doesn't work, then you want to own the asset with the best risk-adjusted returns. Now, this is where people get weird. They're like, yeah, but crypto goes down 80% every 4 years. On a risk-adjusted basis, it is an alien asset class. The reward so far outweighs the risk that people can't get their heads around an asset that goes down 98% like Solana and still compounds at 250% a year. And I look at the chart of NASDAQ, looks amazing. It's a log, secular, exponential trend. Divided by the price of Bitcoin to see relatively how it's done. It's down 97.9%. There is no second best. Making another investment decision is suboptimal if you've got the right time horizon. I see everybody go down this journey and it's really funny to watch. Often people go into the space, fuck it up, go, whoa, this is too crazy for me. They then absorb a bit. They come with a bit of humility. They come back to the space and slowly it becomes everything. Just one after the other, they get there and they never come back because the returns on a risk-adjusted basis are so ridiculous that they realize if there's one trade to dedicate your life to, this is the trade. This is the big one. The biggest trade mankind has ever been given. No other asset has ever done 22.5 million % returns in 12 years. True wealth is made from a concentrated bet. That's Jeff Bezos. In markets, that's certainly the case. I don't know many people who run broad, diversified portfolios who end up becoming wealthy. Even Warren Buffett's portfolio is pretty concentrated. So concentrated bets really are the way, but that's very hard to do because, you're trying to take the big bet over the mortgage crisis and stuff like that. They're hard to take. But here we've got a bet that has everything going for it. It is driven by behavioral economics. So number go up means that more people come into the network, which means number go up. More the number go up, the more money's in this new digital economy that creates the applications layer, businesses being built on it. The more businesses being built on it, the more use of the blockchain, the more the number go up. The more the number go up, the more people come in. Before you know it, the finance industry wants. It is a supermassive black hole it's like the greatest behavioral scheme of all time. So it's genius for that. And it attracts people. Then you've got the debasement of currency. Then you've got the non-fit for purpose of the financial system that exists. Then you've got the fact that This is just digitizing value settlements and everything else, all of contracts. And so you've got a ludicrous amount of mega trends all in one point. It's liquid. It trades 24/7. It's accessible to almost every single human on the planet. It's like, come on, guys, this is the fucking big one. There is nothing ever going to be bigger than this.
You're all in crypto, but within crypto, you are pretty much all in one crypto, Solana.
Because there is no diversification. So I had made a lot of money in the last cycle by switching from Bitcoin into ETH and got a lot of hatred for it in that bizarre world that is Bitcoin Maxi. I had switched because I saw network effects of ETH were growing fast. I thought I was going to be all ETH this cycle. I had a bit of Solana, and I'd observed a couple of things. This space is about narratives first, primarily about the narrative. I was at an event just the start of the bear market, March 2022, and I can't name the people, but some very well-known people, very well-known, had come up to me and said, well, what's with these Solana people? I've been talking to them. And I was like, wow, okay, these are big music industry people. These were, Instagram, the head of Instagram. There's all of these people. I'm like, this kind of weird Russian guy knows all of these people. And so I just realized that they understood that their tech was great to be the consumer or retail chain. Even their logo, the name, everything about it smelt of mass adoption. But it was a bear market. So I walked away. I always process these things after I've seen them. So I was on my flight home. I'm like, something weird was going on there. So I marked it down and there's something Solana. So Solana collapsed over the next 3 months. And so I started buying in June when ETH bottomed. I bought ETH based on liquidity analysis. I bought ETH in July 2022 and Solana. I was too early in Solana. And then I kind of left those positions and just continued to run them. And they all bounced and everything was great. No, ETH didn't bounce. I mean, Solana had the next leg lower. ETH didn't confirm it, which was really interesting to me as well. And I just kept adding in Solana. But I was still kind of like 30% Solana, 70% ETH at that point. And it was not until I had been then watching the chart of the Solana ETH cross, this could break out. And I've got a thesis. This is the retail chain. So Anatoly comes up, starts talking, and then drops a bomb, which was like, Jump think they've got this thing to be running at between 600,000 and 1.2 million TPS. 1.2 million TPS? That's 20x Solana's theoretical TPS of 60,000. I'm like, okay, this is a step change. And that weekend, I was writing Global Macro Investor over in Little Cayman. I looked at the chart just started breaking out. I went on Twitter and said, who knows about Fire Dancer? Silence. I asked Toly publicly, I said, when's this out? He goes, I think it'll be out on testnet by the end of the year. That was it. I did the switch. I didn't have my ledger device over that weekend. Julian bloody Bittel did, and he was doing his switch before and it moved like crazy over that weekend. And I got back home to my house in Grand Cayman on Monday and just literally switched everything.